Welcome to this 1-hour Framer course for beginners. Now, if you're looking to create stunning, high-quality websites quickly, then Framer is your go-to tool. With its intuitive design and powerful features, you can easily craft high-paying sites that impress clients. So whether you're new to web design or looking to enhance your skills, this course has you covered. And hey, if you want to take it further, I've got a free 3-hour Framer course linked in the description below. So if you want to bring your Framer skills to the next level, feel free to check out this free course. But now without further ado, let's get started. And the very first thing that you want to do is to go on FRAMER.com and you want to click on Start for Free Today in order to sign up and create your account, which is a process which is going to take just a few short minutes. And once you enter your account, which you can easily do either via the web platform or the standalone software, you're going to be redirected to this main screen, which I want to take a moment so that you get familiar with all of the major options. So as you can see, you're going to be able to view all of the recent projects right away in this whole field, and you can even sort by last view by yourself, last edited, or in alphabetical order, which is going to be useful for filtering projects. Now, on top of that, on the left side, you're going to see some quick links which are going to be useful. So you can have an app tour by clicking on this one. You can visualize the templates, and Framer has tons of templates which you can leverage. These are either free or premium templates, so definitely have a look. And on top of that, you're going to find some other options like the Figma Paste, which is going to be a plugin in essence, which we're going to discuss in much more detail in the future videos. And you also have the tutorial section. Now on the very left, you're also going to see the project section, which is going to be where you're going to find all of the recent projects. You can also see archived projects, and you can create a new workspace, which is going to enable you to group projects all within a dedicated space, which you can then share with other team members or clients. And over here, you're going to find all of the basic settings for your personal and workspace account. So anything that is related to that, you're going to find here together with all of the projects and the archive. Now, I want to take a moment to mention this link, which is the community, because if you go on the community, I highly recommend you to check it out and also to join it, because you're going to find a lot of useful resources, posts and updates from Framer themselves. So it's a really useful place to get familiar with and also to receive help whenever you get stuck on a project. Also, on top of that, you might want to consider using the night mode if you're into dark UI, and that pretty much wraps up all the major features of the main home screen. At this point, what we want to do is to click on create a new project in order to get started with your very first Framer project. Now that we have a basic understanding of the UI, we're going to create a page and preview it. So we're going to click on Insert, and as you can see, under the Basics panel, you're going to see the Pages section. And over here, you can find all sorts of different page templates, which you can use to kickstart a page in a fast and efficient way. In this case, what we're going to do is we're going to select the very first one, click on Add Page, and as you can see, the page has been added to the main homepage. Now, the reason being is that we haven't specified any design for the homepage, so it automatically created it inside the same page. But if you actually go back on the Pages panel, we select, for example, this second one, which is Portfolio, you can see that a new page beneath the homepage has now been created. Now, one important note is that if during a project you wanted to change the homepage to any of the other pages that you're going to see in this left column, you can simply right click on it and then click on Set Homepage. At this point, this portfolio page is now going to be the home page of the website. So at this point, what we can see if we zoom out is that by default, this page has different breakpoints. Now, breakpoints are an essential element which we're going to discuss in much more detail in the future videos. But just to give you a brief overview, it's going to dictate how the website is going to display on a desktop format, on a tablet format, and on a mobile phone format. You can also see the exact measurements that you're referring to. So for example, desktop 1200 is referred to the width in pixels. So it's 1200 pixels. Then the tablet is going to activate on sizes beneath 1199, and the phone is going to activate for width sizes beneath 809. So you can have a granular level of detail when it comes to these measurements. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go to the old home, and we're actually going to set it as a home page again, and we're going to preview it, which you can easily do by clicking on this preview button, which you can also find here on the top right. So let's click on it, and as you can see, you're going to be able to see the preview of this page. And by default, we also have some animations to these pages which Framer offer us. On the top left, you're going to see a few options which are useful. First one is going to be the reload. So if you want to reload the page, you can simply click on this button. And you can also prompt a full screen mode, which can allow you to see the website in its full screen. In order to go back, simply click on Show UI, and that is going to get you back to this view. You can also set the width directly from here. So if, for example, I want to test the website at 1000 pixels of width, I'm simply going to enter 1000, press enter. As you can see, the width is going to apply. The same is true for the height. So if I have a specific scenario where I want to test it at 500 of height, I can easily do that. I can also move these values in an interactive way directly from here. As you can see, they're going to update automatically. And we're going to discuss some of these other options in future videos, but these are going to enable you to invite and publish the website. In this brief video, I want to talk about sections, navigations, and menu items. Now, as you can see, once you click on the Insert button, you're going to see under the Basics panel, sections, navigation, and menus. Now, the reason why these are going to be useful is starting from the sections, these are going to give you pre-styled elements that you can easily add within a template. So as you recall from the previous videos, we actually added this landing page, which you can see right here. But say that I want to add a new section, which is going to be somewhat similar to this one right here. I can actually drag and paste this in one single click. Now the beauty about sections is that they're already predefined and pre-styled, so that as I look at the tablet and the mobile version, these are already optimized. So you're going to save time in the styling. And there are sections of all sorts. So I invite you after this video to have a look and start adding and experimenting with these sections, which in some instances are going to be really useful, especially for more complex designs, such as a pricing section and so on. Now let's talk about the navigation, because navigations deserve an area for themselves, because navigation items are usually going to be quite tricky in the sense that they're going to have several items and interactions potentially. So let's go ahead and let's add a navigation item right here at the very top. You're going to notice that this navigation item is in a different color than the other section items. And the purple basically symbolizes, if we go back to the layers panel, that we are dealing with a component. Now, components are going to be an element which we're going to discuss in a much greater detail in future videos. But if we double click on the actual component on the left, you're going to see that we're going to have the individual elements of these components. These are going to be the drop downs, which are going to appear once we select one of these menu items. And on the very right, you're going to see also the mobile version, also with the open menu. So if we go back to the home section, you can see how this is starting to play into more intriguing dynamics, which we're going to explore soon. And over here at the very bottom, you can also find the dark versions of the header. Now, the last element which you want to keep in mind is the menu items, because of course these are going to be the actual items where you're going to have all of the different menus. And now that we have a basic overview of all of these core elements, let's continue making some progress with the next video. Adding and editing images in Framer is quite easy. There's a few ways you can add images. The first one is going under Layout and clicking on Image. And then you can use the left mouse button, drag, and create your image field. The other option is using the keyboard shortcut Shift+I, and you're going to prompt the exact same image option. Now there is one last way that I want to show you. To add an image, you can simply drag and drop an element or an image directly onto the Framer canvas, and as you can see, it's going to be added in a second. Now, if we go under the fill, you can see that we have this layer set as an image. So what we're gonna do now is we're going to explore the different options which you have at your disposal right here. First of all, you can replace the image by simply clicking on Choose Image. Then you can use any other image to replace it. Now, there's also some other options. First one being the resolution. The auto is the one which is going to be default, and you're probably going to use it the majority of the time. There is also the option to have auto lossless, and you could even make the resolution smaller so that it's going to be minimized in terms of file size on the web, and you can make it medium, large, or full. Now, most of the times I simply click it on auto, since it's going to be the best bridge between small resolution and quality of the image. Now let's explore the other options which we have at our disposal. Now I'm going to add the image in this other way, which I showed you at the very beginning of this tutorial, and I'm going to focus on the type. Now, as you can see, fill is going to fill up the element which we deemed as the layer of the image. And if we transition to fit, you can see how now the entire image is going to fit regardless of the ratio or the size that we are attributing to that specific element. Now, if we check, there's going to be two other options. And by the way, you can also set the position to either center or left. So if we go ahead and we make this a little bit bigger, you're going to see exactly what I'm referring to. If I center it, it's going to be here. It's going to be right. That's where it's going to go. So you can play around with these settings depending on what you need at that specific time. Now we're going to also see the stretch, which, as you can see, it's essentially going to stretch the image and try to accommodate to fill up the entire element of the layer. And the very last one is going to be the tile, which, as the name suggests, is essentially going to scale up or down the image based on this scale value to create a tile effect, which you can also use some of the presets that you see here in case you need some of these specific tiles, which of course is going to remove the image which you selected, as these tiles presets are actually considered as images. So we're simply going to leave it at fill. And one last element which is quite important in this option is the alt text. Now what the alt text does is it's going to give the search engines a clue as to what the image is about. So for example, the alt text for this image could be man wearing a bracelet, and this is going to be very useful not only for Google or other search engines, but also for accessibility, since individuals with visual impairments are probably going to utilize some softwares that is going to enable them to hear what the image visuals are about. So this is going to be really useful for them, and we always want to be mindful of accessibility on the web, so it's just a really nice thing to consider for them as well. Now we also have two more options, the first one being the crop, and as the name suggests, this is going to enable you to crop a specific part of an image. You can also set the height in width and in height over here, and you can crop it, and as you're going to see, it's going to crop the image in that specific location. One more thing is you can utilize the Unsplash library directly from Framer by clicking on Unsplash, and you can search through the entire Unsplash library, which, by the way, is a huge library of royalty-free photos. I know that some photos you're going to need to check the copyright and the terms and conditions, but overall an amazing resource from unsplash.com, which I utilize quite often, so I highly recommend you to check out, as it's really a solid library. So this is it when it comes to images, and we're going to continue with the next. In this video we're going to learn about components, variants, and variables. Components are going to be extremely useful for any element which is going to be repeated multiple times throughout your website project. Think about elements such as buttons, headers, footers, and much more. Now we're going to create a component out of this button, and as you can see under the layers panel, this button is simply a stack with a text element. Now in order to create a component, simply right click, and you can see this create component call to action, which you can prompt also using this keyboard shortcut. Now the moment that we create a new component, we're going to have this menu prompt, which essentially asks us what is going to be the name of the component. You can always edit this name, so we're simply going to stick to this default to button. And as you can see, the moment that we clicked on create, we are now being redirected to a dedicated components view. So this is going to be one step out of the home, And here we're going to have granular options on the components and the variants. Now that we have the component, we can go back to the original view, and we're going to notice that we're going to have the component icon right here. Now, in order to edit the component, you can actually either double click on the component or simply select it and click over here on edit component. Now we're going to create a variable. And what a variable is another version of that same component. So for example, I can create a variable of this component where we have by default black text and a white fill. And I'm going to rename both of these components to bottom black, and then the second one is going to be bottom white. Now if you go back on the home, now you're going to notice that we have a new drop down under the component section, which is going to allow us to toggle between the white and the black version of the component. In order to simplify things even further, you can start using names which are going to be easier to browse through, such as simply black or white. And now we're going to explore a very useful feature, which is going to be the variables. Now see that I have this button, which by default is going to be black, but see that I wanted to have this as a dark button instead of just having it each and every time in a black color. What you can do is to simply click on the fill once you select the component, and you can create a variable. Now the variable in this case is going to be color, since we want to change the background color of this button while still maintaining the same component. So by default it's going to be black, but we are going to be able to change it moving forward. So if you go back to the home, you can see that now we have a new variable, which is the background color, which is going to enable us to change the color of this component while still maintaining the same basic principles that we established just a moment ago. Now at this point, one other really useful element which you're going to use all the time when building websites is going to be the hover or pressed states. Now the hover state can be added by simply clicking on this section below. So to recap, on the right you can add variants, and below you can add hover or pressed states. Now we're going to select hover, and at this point you can see how we created this second component, which is going to be the hover state, and we're simply going to, for the sake of illustration, we're going to change the rotation of this button just slightly, and we're going to click on play. And as you can see, once I hover over this button, you now have this rotation effect. Now you can also add a pressed state, which say for the sake of demonstration, once I press, so basically once I click on this button, it's going to tilt even further. So you can see how this is going to help you create all sorts of different micro animations in a very fast and efficient way. So this is pretty much it when it comes to components, variants, and variables in Framer. Now I invite you to experiment with these concepts that you just learned, and think through about how you can structure your design system, quote unquote, in order to create websites that are going to be easy to maintain and scalable in the long term. In this video we're going to learn how to add colors and gradients in Framer. So what we're gonna do is we're going to actually add a frame right over here, and you can see that on the right panel we're going to find the fill option under the styles. So we're gonna click on it, and modifying the color is actually very easy. You can simply select the color from the hue panel, and this option right here enables you to reduce the transparency. Now you can also decide if you want to have a hex RGB or HSL color system. Usually you would work on hex the vast majority of the time, especially if you're working on a website, but those options are available. Now on top of that, you can use the color picker by clicking on sample color, and this is going to enable you to sample pretty much any color within the file directly from that menu item. You can also use Ctrl plus C in order to change the option to the color picker, and I believe it's the same also on Windows. And in order to change the fill to a sample singular color to a gradient, you can simply select over here the gradient, and as you can see, as we select first the top one, and then we're going to select the other one, we can easily change the gradient color, which in this case it's a linear gradient. Now I can also change the orientation by hovering over either the top or just beneath the bottom of the gradient control points, and selecting and holding with the left mouse button and moving around is going to enable us to change the orientation of the gradient. If I also use the shift key at the same time, I can work in angles of 45 degrees. You can also change the gradient to be a radial gradient, which you can easily adjust in height directly from this section, and you can also change the width of the gradient from the right control color option. So very easy to adjust, and you can also move around this radial gradient by selecting the center point and moving it around. Now one type of gradient which you're going to probably use very occasionally is the conic gradient, but this is going to be quite useful in some scenarios. So again, very similar to the radial gradient, you can easily select the center point and move it around, and you can also simply add more touch points directly from here, and you can change the gradients directly from this section. So very easy, very intuitive to use. And by the way, you can adjust the gradient points also in these other sections or other type of gradients, since this is going to enable you to create all sorts of different variations very easily and in a fast and efficient way. In this quick video, we're going to learn how to apply a shadow in Framer. Now, if we select an element such as this one, but you can also simply create a frame, you're going to notice that we have this shadow option right here, which by default is going to display like this. And as I click on it, you're going to see this shadow menu. Now, the very first option we're going to discuss in just a minute. What I wanted to focus on initially is the x-axis, which is going to determine the position of the shadow within its x-axis. And as you can see, you can actually add both a positive value or a negative value, and the same is going to be true also for the y-axis. Now, the moment that we're happy with the position, usually you would either increase or decrease the blur depending on the type of shadow that you're creating. And the spread is essentially going to determine the size of the shadow. So that's going to be the main elements that you're going to usually tweak when it comes to the shadows. And you can also change the color and apply a transparency to the shadow so that it's not as harsh as having a full color set at 100%. And one really useful option which FRAMER introduced is the realistic shadow. Now the realistic shadow is essentially going to give us a more realistic feeling to the shadow. So if we zoom in, you can see how the shadow is getting darker as we are going more towards the actual object, and then it smoothes out in a very soft way. So this is going to be an effect that you definitely want to keep in mind. And the very last option is going to be the positioning. So by default it's going to be outside, but you can also set it inside if that is the effect that you are looking for. You can also add and combine multiple shadows. So for example, I could have one inner shadow, and then I can add an outside shadow in order to create specific effects, and you can create as many shadow effects as you want. So the sky is the limit when it comes to the possibilities of creating effects using this very option. In this video we're going to learn how to use links in FRAMER. Now there's two types of links primarily. The first one is a link that links from one page to another, and the second one is going to be a scroll link in the sense that it's going to connect to a specific section of a current page. So over here we have two pages, home and portfolio. I'm going to create a link that is going to connect this text and this page. So simply select the text layer, click on link, and then over here you can see that we have under the pages portfolio. You're also going to see CMS items pages over here. And if you have a long list, you can easily just type portfolio and you're going to see just that option. Now at this point we have to decide if we want to create a new tab once you click on this link, which is going to open two tabs, the one with this current page and the new tab which we created with the portfolio. In this case we're going to say no, and if we test this out, you can see that now this is a link, and if I click on it, it's going to redirect to the portfolio. You can easily just create the same link to go over here on the home, and this is going to help us navigate throughout the website. You can also use components with links within one another, so you don't have to create this process manually each and every time. So for example, the top navigation is always good to have as a component, since you're going to have it throughout the website, and you simply have to set up these links once and you're good to go for every single page of the website. Same is going to be true also for the footer and any other component. Now let's explore the second option which we have at our disposal, which is linking a section of the page. So for example, let's say that I wanted to create a connection to the frequently asked questions section. I can simply select this item, and what I'll need to do is I'll need to create a scroll section, which is going to create an ID target essentially. So let's click on plus, and over here already written FAQ, so I'll simply confirm that. And you can notice that if you go under the layers panel, you're going to basically see that there's some connection points which suggest that there's links, but for the time being you just need to make sure that the scroll section has an attribute, and I'm going to write here FAQ, and I'm going to create a link which is going to be to the home still, because we're operating on this page. And now we have this section panel, which under it you can see the newly created FAQ. Again, you can decide if open it in a new tab, and you can decide also if the scrolling, so basically once I click on it, how the scroll interaction is going to be. And I'm going to select smooth so that it's not going to be instantly redirecting down. And if we select the preview and I click on FAQ, you can see how now we created an internal link in this Framer site page. In this video, we're going to explore the ins and outs of typography in Framer. So the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to click on text, and we're going to create a rectangle in which the text element is going to be contained. So I'm going to write this is a text element, and as you can see, the moment that we go on the right side, there's going to be this text section which is going to contain all of the text related options. So starting from the first one, you're going to see styles, and styles are going to be really useful in order to create design systems and have a level of consistency throughout the design project. So when it comes to websites, you should be familiar already with the concept of headings, such as heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, all the way to 6, paragraphs, and other common text styles that you can use throughout the project. And this is exactly where the text styles come in handy, because they enable you to replicate these text styles and essentially establish what is going to be a heading 1, 2, and all the way to the paragraphs. So the moment I click on heading 1, you can see that now this is going to be the heading 1 style. And we can easily edit this text style by clicking on edit. And as you're going to see, you have all of the options which are available that you could see before that. Now let's pretend that we're not going to go that route, and we're simply going to have a text element which is going to be styled. Now, one interesting part about Framer is that there is this section which is content, and over here you can actually see the content of the text style. Now, you can also do it the old-fashioned way, which is double-clicking on the element to change the text directly from here. But just a heads up, whenever you see maybe some elements where there is a specific styling, you can easily do it this way very easily. Now, beneath that, there are the most common text-related options, such as the font. Over here you can select whatever font you want, and this is going to apply automatically. You can also choose the weight if that font enables it. So for example, if I use Open Sans, I know that there are many weights available, so I can easily select different weights and apply them. And over here I can change the color very easily. I can also apply gradients to the text. So essentially this is going to enable us to create all sorts of different gradients, and you can go with the linear, you can go with the radial or the conic gradient. Now at this point I'm going to use Command Z, and you can change the size of a font by clicking on the size panel, and you can decide if you want the size to be pixels. In this case it's going to be 22 pixels, or if it's simply going to fit the width of this box. So as you can see, the moment that I resize it, it's going to fit, and this is going to be really useful in creating some responsive solutions on websites. So definitely keep this option in mind. Now on top of that, there are a few different elements, such as the letter spacing. So most commonly you can simply adjust the letter spacing. I'm simply going to go to 0. You can also go to negative values, case you want to create some specific effects. And you can also add a line, or actually increase the line height, since if I select this element and I increase the line height, you can see how this is going to essentially change automatically. Now I'm going to go with the pixels again, so that you can more easily see this element at play. And yeah, for the very most part, this should be pretty straightforward. A few different things to keep in mind. Whenever you're creating a text element, you're going to see this box, which you can change the alignment to center or to the bottom of the box, and then center or right aligned. So keep these in mind if you're going with a solution within a boxed text element. So this is pretty much it when it comes to the basics of text. And again, experiment and try these elements after this video, so that you can become familiar with all of the units and all of the options. And just before I wrap up the video, I want to remind you that you can change the values of the letter and also the line height to pixels, and in the case of the line height to percentages, which is going to set the line height to a percentage. So experiment with these options and with the typography elements, as they're going to become second nature in no time. In previous videos, we briefly touched on pages, layers, and assets, but in this video I want to give you some more real-life example using this FRAMER SaaS website kit, which you can download for free on FRAMER Templates website. Now, as you can see over here under the pages, we're going to have access to all of the main pages of this website. And if we click on the three dots menu, you can see that we have a few different options. The first one is going to be the settings, which we have an entire section dedicated to all of the settings on the FRAMER site. And over here you can also decide to rename, duplicate, copy, or delete that page. Now you can also access the canvas, which is essentially an area which is outside of the flow of the other pages. Now, if we go under the layers, you're already probably familiar with all of the different options, and we are examining in depth all of the items within the FRAMER interface. So we're not going to focus too much on the layers. Just one note, try to keep your layering system organized within FRAMER. This is especially going to be useful if you work with other designers, as it's going to help them understand which section is organized and how they can pick up from where you left and work on the projects together in a very easy and efficient way. What I want to focus on right now is the assets. Now, as you can see, the assets panel is composed of a few different items, namely components, which are going to be reusable components within the site, such as buttons, footer sections, logos, and much more. And you can see that you can create nestings of components. So for example, here we have projects, and we have all of the components related to project, and then we have components related to FRAMER and FRAMER modules. So there is this ability that you have, and if you click over here, you're going to be able to either edit the component, find it within the workspace, and rename, duplicate, or delete. You can also add it to a library. You can copy the import or copy the URL of that component so that you can easily share it and allow individuals to find it very easily. Over here you can also find the styles which has been applied, and these are the styles that are the default in the project. Now, one thing that I want you to notice is how you can create styles which are duplicates of the same style, but with variations. For example, here we have two H4s. We don't necessarily need to have simply just one. In this case, we have a variation which is going to be the heading along, and although it's similar to the H4, you are creating essentially another subversion of the main heading 4. So this is something that you can do for pretty much all of the items. For example, also here we have a different type of paragraph, so you don't simply need to have just one body. You can have small, medium, large, and this gives extra flexibility whenever you're creating a site. You can have also styles for links and also the different colors. So this is almost like a small design system if you're used to Figma or similar design tools, and it's tightly created in a way that it helps build for the web. And at the very end you can find the code section, which is going to enable you to create a code file. You can add a name, and then you can create either a new component or a new override, and then you can create it. So this is it as an overview. I know that some of these concepts might be difficult to grasp at this very moment, but don't worry about it, because we are going to go into depth into all of these items so that you're going to consolidate the knowledge, and everything that they mentioned is really going to click. So I just want to give you a bird's eye perspective, high level overview of these items, and especially when it comes to the assets, we're going to explore and master them in future videos. Okay, so now we're going to talk about icons and how to add them in Framer. So there's a few different ways that you can add icons in Framer. The very first one is going to be simply going under the insert panel, and you can see that under the elements we have this icon section, which allow us to leverage some of the most popular icon libraries out there. So for example, if say that I'm using hero icons on a project, I can simply click on hero, and what you're going to notice is that we're not going to see any library and with all the different icons that hero gives us at our disposal, but we're simply going to have one single icon which has been added in the file. Now, in order to change the icon, you have to go under the hero component section, and you can effectively look at the list from here, which can be a bit cumbersome. So what I recommend you to do is if you're not sure which icon from the hero icon library you want to use, simply go on the official website and keep it at hand in order to look at icons. So for example, say that I want to add an adjustment horizontal, I can essentially find it over here, and then I can either copy the SVG, so I could go here and simply copy it, but even better than that is to use the component, which I can have right here, and then I can simply look for the adjustments vertical icon right here. So it's very simple. It really depends on your workflow. Some people, some designers like to copy the SVG. Maybe you're working on a Figma file with all of the icons, and you can literally just copy and paste it directly from Figma to Framer, or as you just seen from pretty much any resource that allows you to copy the SVG. And on top of that, there's a few different icon sets which are going to be quite handy. So Feather is definitely one which I used quite often, and Google Material Design icon set is one which is extremely popular in the design community. So I highly recommend you to check out this icon sets and just play around with them. And you're also going to notice right here that we have this list and search option. So you could search, for example, over here, I can look for arrow, and bam, I can simply click on enter, and the icon which is relevant is going to appear. You can also select if it's mirrored or not. You can change the color. So pretty standard, pretty easy overall to change these icons. And you can also change the style, so that you're looking for other styles. In this specific instance there isn't any, but if the icon library has different styles connected to it, you can easily just change it from there. And on top of that, some fun icons sets or humans, for example, which allow you to, as the name suggests, to create different scenarios with different humans. So very interesting of an icon set. And again, you can go on the human website in order to see all of the options at your disposal, and maybe you want to recreate a specific human. You can easily do that with a more visual approach instead of going through drop-down menus all the time. So this is it when it comes to icon sets. I would like also to recommend you two icon softwares which I use all the time. The first one is Noun Project, which is one of the most extensive icon libraries on the web. I use it very extensively, especially for times where I cannot find a specific icon in most icon sets, or I need something which is more illustrative. So for example, if I look at decorations, I can easily see here that there is a lot of icons which are very nuanced. They almost feel like illustrations even more than icons. So this is definitely an icon set which is really useful in certain specific cases. So I can literally drag and drop it, and as you can see, we have this SVG of this icon, which is a bit unusual compared to maybe some of the most UI oriented icon sets. And another one which I use quite often is Nucleo. Now Nucleo is awesome because it's a software which allows you to add different icon libraries. So you have the Nucleo free sample, or there is also the premium one. And you can have, for example, the Google Material icons directly from here. So what I like about Nucleo is that it gives me a very visual approach. So if I look for arrow, I can browse through all of these in a very easy way. I can also increase the size, and then once I found a specific icon, I can simply drag and drop it into the file, and yeah, the workflow is extremely easy. And these are pretty much like my go-to when it comes to my icon set approaches and workflow. And hope this video was helpful. We'll continue learning more about Framer in the next one. In this video, we're going to talk about the forms that you can integrate natively in Framer and how you can leverage them in easy steps. So as you can see under the insert, you're going to see this forms panel, which is going to prompt a few different options. The very first one is going to be the input, which is essentially going to help you add inputs manually. But what I really want to focus on in this video is these other services and give you a high-level overview of what they are and how you can leverage them for both your personal projects and your clients. So we're not going to talk about how to integrate them because it's going to depend on the tool, and I don't want to make this an hour-long video with going into the technicalities of each and every tool. You can simply Google how to integrate FormSpark, or even just simply adding the form, and you're going to see some of the insights that you're going to need in order to add a form. For example, for FormSpark, you're going to need to add an ID, and all of these tools can integrate very, very easily. It just takes a couple minutes at max. So I want to give you a brief rundown of these tools, starting from FormSpark, which is your most classic form tool. So as you can see, you can connect forms with all sorts of different softwares, including FRAMER. And this is a very solid solution for most people out there in order to create and connect forms to a FRAMER site. So this is going to be your go-to tool when it comes to forms, as it allows you to have a high-level picture of all of the new inquiries, and it's also very customizable, so very easy to use both for yourself and in teams. So this is going to be a great solution. Now HubSpot, which is the very next integration that we can see here under the Forms tool, it's not just a form service, meaning that it's an actual customer platform. It's a marketing platform. Even if you have a look at the pricing, they have so many tools to go for individuals. There's so many tools for marketing, sales, service, content, operation, and commerce, and forms are just one of their features. So HubSpot is one of those companies that you definitely should have a look at, as they're industry leaders, but it's not going to be just for forms. Now the other native integration that you have with Framer is Intercom. And the Intercom is all about customer service with AI. And more specifically, Intercom is going to help you have a live chat and many more features. So if you're looking for a premium live chat together with some of the other services that they offer, Intercom can definitely be a great place to look at. And if you're looking for email marketing, MailChimp is one of the most favorite email marketing softwares out there. So that's what this other native integration is about. I won't really go into much of the details, but definitely if you're looking to build an email list, MailChimp has a great value for the price overall. The next one, which is most relevant for our form discussion, is Typeform. And Typeform is my number one recommendation for those of you who are looking to create beautiful forms. Now this can be either form embeds in your Framer website, or it can even be a redirect to a Typeform form link, but it's essentially going to help you create forms that look beautiful, and they're very effortless for the user to fill in. And this is not only for marketing purposes, but also for product research, user testing, job applications, and there's so many different applications for Typeform. So It's definitely one of those companies that as a designer you have to experiment with, and just open up a free account and have a look, because it can be a great recommendation for your clients as well as your personal projects. And then the very last one is Calendly, which is my go-to scheduling service, which I personally use. I booked so many sales calls with Calendly, I lost track, but essentially it enables you to have a easy way for clients to schedule a time with you, and this can be even via email, but more specifically in this case it's going to be a form which enables the user to see your calendar and the times that you're available, and book appointments directly via Calendly. I have it on my personal website, and it's really a great site. So my recommendation for you is to kind of get familiar from a high level with these form integrations, these companies, and then you can decide which one is going to be the best solution for your and your clients in the specific instances that this need arise. In this video we're going to learn about quick actions in Framer. In order to prompt the quick actions, there's two ways to go about it. The first one is simply clicking on actions, and as you're going to see, this menu is going to appear. The other option is going to use Command plus K, and as you can see we have the exact same menu. Now at this point quick actions are going to give us a few different options. The first one being the create a web page, so you can easily create a new page directly from the quick actions. You can also create a component directly from the quick actions, so simply going to write here example. As you can see, we're going to be redirected to the component section. Now quick actions are super useful to also browse through pages quickly. So if I simply prompt the quick actions and I type home and then I press enter, I can go home. I can then change it to pricing, go back home. You see the gist of it. So this is just a few things that quick actions can do. You can also generate a AI page, which I have an entire video discussing this very option. You can also publish the website, open localization features, see the version history, and invite collaborators. And as you can see on the very right, there's keyboard shortcuts that are going to help you speed up the process. You can also browse the library and many more things. So this is it when it comes to the quick actions at a glance, and it's going to be an important element to practice in order to speed up your workflow in a Framer.